relating to the 2020 COVID-19 emergency and to avoid group congregation. This meeting will only have remote opportunities for participation with public access provided. All right, so for those of you who are new to the Historical Commission, what we will do is we will go through our agenda, starting with 38 Bradshaw Street. We'll call the petitioner to speak and give us information about their petition. We will then ask the commission if the commission has any questions for the petitioner. We will then ask the community if they have any information that they can provide about the historical nature of the property. We'll then close the meeting to discuss amongst the commissioners as to whether or not the property in question is preferably preserved. If it's found to be preferably preserved, we will take a vote on whether or not a demolition delay should be imposed. So the first property on our agenda is 38 Bradshaw Street. Is anybody here for that property? Mr. Fedorov, if you'd like to present your petition.
Yeah. So we would like to do demolition and they build the duplex of this property, of this address.
Do you have any information about the property that you want to demolish?
My architect has it, Alex. Can you do it, Alex?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Swirsky. I'm the architect for the project. Not sure what your question is about the property that we're trying to demolish. It's a single-family Cape-style house, pretty old.
Do you know what year it was built?
I think around 1950.
Yes,
there are very few discernible features or architectural details that I don't want to say worth considering saving, but just a very simple house. In my opinion, should not present a historical significance to the town.
Okay, is there anything else you want to provide us for information on this property?
Yes, we are refiling the application. The application for demolition was already filed a year ago. Unfortunately, the previous owner did not follow through. So at that time, the commission found the structure not historically significant and not preferably preserved. That's all that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody on the commission have any questions for the petitioner? Okay. Seeing as there are no questions, actually, Gideon, I think, yep. Could you change David to his name, please?
Oh, he must have gotten dropped and then it got
Yep. So if there are no questions from the commission, commissioners for this applicant, is there anyone from the community that has any information that they'd like to bring forth to the commission's attention? David, you're lit up. Do you mean to be lit up? No. Okay.
Well, I guess I have one question about what will replace the demolished house, and is that the same proposal that you proposed earlier?
Yes. No, the previous owner planned to create a single-family residence. Mm-hmm. But for reasons unknown to us, changed his mind and decided to sell the property.
Okay. And your plans are for another single family or a two family?
We're planning to create a two townhouses, very similar, sort of in I don't want to say in style, but very similar to the property across the street and the property street over that were recently built, I think 2 years ago and 1 year ago.
Okay. Um,
Gideon, do you want to share the screen with the,
Sure, I have it open.
okay.
okay, great.
Can you see it?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It, when you share screens, it completely changes what you have. So I'll just scroll through slowly. This is obviously the plot or the floor plan. It's an unusual shape.
Mhm.
There's the elevations, but remember, it's like a triangle. And then there's the existing plot plan and then the surroundings. Do you want me to scroll back to anything in particular?
No, I think that's
Is there
good.
an elevator? There we go. Okay.
All right, other than Susan, is there anyone from the community that has any comments? Any information to bring regarding this property?
Have there been any input from neighbors on your plans for this property?
No, we had no input because everything that we're trying to build is as of right.
Mm-hmm.
We are planning to apply for an allowed increase in FAR, but that's not critical to our design.
Okay. I guess the reason, well, I don't guess, the reason I'm asking is that this is a neighborhood that's been going through a lot of change recently, from small single family, 1.5 story homes to much larger structures. And I guess from a quote unquote historic perspective, even though often we don't think of houses like this as being historic, there's a real there has been a real cohesive character in the community of this building. And it is, it's easy to forget that the original building was what, 70 years old. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Yes, you are correct.
And it just, for me, speaking for myself, I'm just sad to see the character of these neighborhoods kind of getting built out so that there isn't the kind of green space between and kind of a elbow room between the buildings, and that often they overwhelm the existing buildings next to them. So that's just that's my concern. And absolutely, this, I understand that this is as of right construction that you're doing. So if there's anything you can do in terms of materials to kind of acknowledge the character of the existing neighborhood, or maybe there's not much of the existing neighborhood left around your plot.
So, of course, Gideon, can you switch back to the site plan, to the very first page on the submission?
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing, I think. Here we go.
Is it possible?
Yeah, just let me see if I can. No, that's not it.
There we go.
Is it? Yeah.
The very first page.
Yep, just slow.
Yeah, this one.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the site plan for the building.
Mhm.
And as you can see, it's an intersection of Bradshaw and Westminster. So we have come up with an idea that the site is luckily, it's complicated, but it's luckily symmetrical through the intersection.
Mhm.
So we are going to create 2-family building, while at each street, it's going to look like a single family.
Huh.
So there will be an entrance from Bradshaw and a separate entrance from Westminster.
So will there be 2 street numbers? Will one be
There
on
will be,
Bradshaw?
yes, we will apply to the DPW for a second number. And in some way, these would be, from the street at least, that would look like 2 single-family houses.
Oh, how interesting.
In addition, this is just a 2-story building without the attic. So the height is significantly less than the surrounding buildings. Only 27 feet, I believe.
I did
And
know
that would allow us, and this was the original idea, to make it sort of more in line with the surrounding neighborhood. I wouldn't say architecture, because architecture is so different. Some houses build with some style, some without a style, some had additions built over the years. I don't want to say without attention to detail, but yeah, haphazardly. Across the street, there is a 3-family building. No clue how it got built there. But we think our building, and even the building shape, does not present large forms from the street in any way, and maybe configuration of the site helps us on that. So even though it's a 2-family house, the volume from the street is quite small.
Very interesting. I look forward to seeing it when it's finished.
Thank you.
Okay. I know I was on to questions from the community, and Susan is certainly part of the community as well as the commission. But are there any other questions from the community? Okay. So at this point, we will close the discussion and discuss amongst ourselves, which means you can hear us, but we won't be taking any questions or information from anyone at this point. So what I'm going to do, because we're on Zoom and we've also got people on telephone, I'm just going to do a roll as I see you on the Zoom. Marilyn, do you have anything you want to comment about this property?
Well, I appreciate that it's not terribly tall, but it appeared to have a flat roof, and sooner or later we're going to have some more heavy snow. Not necessarily this winter, but I'm just thinking from a few years back when it was Snowzilla there. How can the flat roof survive in that sort of situation?
You have any other comments about the property, that the building that's there?
Well, it's a nice little cape, and it's presumably more affordable than the individual units will be. And it won't be available anymore. But it's, an ordinary house.
Okay. Thank you. Matthew?
I actually kind of like the design, and I think the flat roof is perhaps better than a lot of the designs we've been seeing. And I'm not particularly attached to the current building in any way. So I think it's going to be probably better than many of the projects we've seen.
Joe?
I mean, it's a cute little single family, but I'm not attached to it either. It's nice to see some thought put into the architecture. I think that's a little refreshing rather than just some of the cookie cutter stuff we see.
Joe, I don't know what's happening, but you sound like you're underwater.
I am underwater now.
You look fabulous.
I'll put my headset on for the next comment. But no, I was just saying, it's nice to see some thought being put into the architecture. And I agree. I like the design.
I heard you say it's nice to see some thought put into the architecture, and then that's it. That's all I got. Okay. The other wasn't important, apparently. All right. Tom, do you have any comments on this property?
Yes. First of all, I'm sorry when we were showing the pictures, they also showed the buildings around, and several of them are already two families in that particular point. I mean, Susan is right. Westminster, it was primarily single family, but it's had a few two families built recently. But it happens right at that corner, across the street on, let's see, Bradshaw, I guess. There are two families, and directly across the street on Westminster and Bradshaw was a house on a somewhat curving lot that we approved demolition of and has been replaced by a two-family. So this is, in particular, is not a major sore thumb for the neighborhood. I also think the house is pretty undistinguished in its the existing house. So I would find it hard to claim that it deserved to be preserved. Of course, this is the same problem we have many the others. A relatively inexpensive house is going to be torn down and replaced by what will undoubtedly be more expensive two families. But that's our concern, but not a historic or architectural concern.
Thank you, Tom. Susan?
I appreciate the explanation that the current owner had of the way in which he tried to keep the scale kind of in keeping with the general neighborhood. And I don't think the existing building is unique or historically significant enough to be saved.
Thank you. And last but hardly least, David? David, you have our attention.
Is he on mute?
No.
On the phone.
David, nod. Blink twice if you can hear us. Just kidding. Okay.
Here he is.
And
Nope,
now
that's Gideon.
no, David just left. Okay. Let's give it a second. He's probably going to come back in, Gideon.
Yep.
I feel like we should have hold music.
Waiting for David, not Godot.
Nicely done, Susan. Nicely done.
Anytime.
I don't see him coming back. Gideon, do you have any?
No, he hasn't come back yet. I can, from the Zoom, you can call someone as well. I wonder if I should try to call him.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start the vote, I think, on this property. So at least we can get him on the next one, I think.
I'm going to check my email just to see if he's trying to get through.
See, we never had these issues when we were in person at the town hall.
It's kind of like falling asleep, right?
These meetings are too exciting to fall asleep.
I know, they really are, aren't they?
Okay, I don't want to hold everybody up, and as much as David's comments are important, I don't have any idea when he's coming back. So does anyone have a motion?
Here he is.
Up,
Oh,
hold your motions.
David, can you hear us?
oh dear.
David?
Hello.
Oh,
Hi, David.
Oh, I hate technology.
Yeah, all right. So David, if you have any comments on Bradshaw, we're ready to entertain any motions unless you have comments.
I do have comments. We have building permits that say the house was built in 1928. I think that's important to note. As for what was proposed for the plot, across the street at 240 Westminster, the house that Tom had just mentioned, the massing of that house is a little different. The entrances are at the corner, the very corner of the building, and I think the architect in that project correctly identified that that the corner lots in this area, in any area, are very high profile spaces, and what we have in front of us is the principal, the front doors are more on the side. It may be that's a successful design. I don't know. I think having a fence with the fence also between the two sides of the property, so there'll be a fence projecting out toward the corner. I think I would encourage the architect to consider something that uses the space of the corners to better effect, because I believe that the corner itself is very high profile. So it much like at 240 Westminster Avenue, they actually reduce the size of the block of the house in the center because it needs to be reduced because it's so high profile. If it were as tall as it was, it would overwhelm. So I wonder if you'd consider changes to that, whereby it would look a little less impactful. Those are my comments. I don't believe it should stand in the way of demolition. Those are my comments.
Thank you, David. Okay, now that we've heard from everyone on the commission, is there a motion?
On motion that the property is not perfectly preserved.
Anybody
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, so Matthew proposed the motion, and who seconded it?
Susan.
Susan Steele seconded. Okay, I'm going to do a roll. Marilyn,
not preferably.
not preferably preserved. Joe?
Can you hear me better now with the headset? Not
Yes.
preferably preserved.
Thank you, Joe. Tom?
Not preferably preserved.
And just going through the lines here. David?
Not preferably preserved.
And I vote not preferably preserved. Therefore, it is unanimously not preferably preserved. So thank you to the petitioner. And I think Susan will get a letter out to you, right, Susan?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Commission. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Okay, so pulling up the agenda, sorry. I'm toggling back and forth here. 1 second. The next property up for discussion is 26 Loomis Ave. Is the petitioner here?
You have to unmute.
Who does? Me?
No, the petitioner, sorry.
Oh, I'm like, I'm not muted.
We are here. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. Hi.
Could you state your names?
Nune Kachatian and Arthur Hartunian.
Okay, so if you could give us information about the property that you are requesting to demolish?
Sure, that's 26 Loomis Avenue, as you stated. We purchased it from our neighbor. We used to live right across him. And it's a very tiny house, 1,200 square feet currently. And it's sitting on 8,000 square land. Then the house is a single house, and we want to demolish it and build two-family house or two condominiums. We want to keep the houses small size, not necessarily 1,200, but 20 to 2,400 each unit, and preserve land. The land we have enough land still to have a nice backyard, sitting area and trees and greens around both units. So that's what we intend to do with that.
Elise, you're muted.
I just realized that. Gideon, could you share your screen with the plans?
Yeah. I'm going to do just the elevations of the proposed, or do you want to see the plot plan first?
Yeah, do the plot
Yes.
first.
Unfortunately, they're not merged as one document, but
And house was built in 1930s, so it's 90 years old house, and it's very old looking. Inside of house cannot be saved. It's just in a very poor condition for the living purposes.
so that's one. And then I'm going to switch to the next one. So that's the proposed. And the driveways are designed the way they are in order to try to accommodate the existing street trees, which are pretty substantial.
Yeah, I already contacted with the engineering department. So, and then the zoning department, the driveway for the zoning is okay, engineering department.
That's not, yeah, that's, I was just verifying that they were designed in order to go around the.
Yes.
Yes, because we
Yes,
want to.
we're gonna keep the tree because the trees is big and too old, and then we don't want to cut the trees.
And then here's the proposed.
Yeah, as you see, the proposed house is pretty similar, which was built with the same architect, Norman Keropian, and around like Watertown, he does a lot of houses. Recently, he did a similar house in the Donay Street, and then same in the Loomis Avenue in the Donay corner. The house is pretty same style, and that's what we try to fit with the new houses in the neighborhood. Pretty traditional looking style. It's not too big, it's not too small.
And on 19 Loomis, actually, the houses are primarily two-family houses. There are a few single houses left.
Gideon, do you have are there any pictures of the existing property?
I'm trying to find them here. Here they are. Oh no, that's a different project.
It's a Cape House. If you don't have a picture, it's a Cape House.
We gave the picture, it's there.
Yeah. Not that fun.
Not it. It's there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the one.
And then here's the surrounding.
Okay, if there's no other information from the petitioner, I'll go through the commissioners and see if you have any questions for the petitioner. Marilyn?
Another ordinary cape and apparently
No, this
another.
isn't. Do you have any questions for the petitioner before
Oh, I'm
we?
sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
No, not really. Just a comment that although it's not anything we have authority over, I'm really glad you're saving it.
Okay.
Tree.
Matthew, do you have any questions? This is just question phase.
No questions.
Joe?
No questions.
Tom, you already asked your question, right?
I asked a question. Oh, I asked to see the pictures.
Yeah.
No, I have no questions for the
Okay.
petitioner.
All right. Susan?
I have a question about exterior materials. Just curious whether what the siding will be.
Exterior material, we not decided yet particularly, but it's gonna be two options. Or it's gonna be vinyl siding, which I don't like that much, or it's gonna be hardy plank.
Okay.
Yeah, which is common building construction material we use on around the Watertown, most of the houses.
Okay.
We
Thank
try to keep the similar style to fit the neighborhood. We don't want to pop out.
Except in a good way.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. David, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
All right. So now, is there anyone from the community who has any comments or information to bring to the commission about the historical nature of the property? Okay. In that case, now we'll close the meeting virtually and discuss amongst the commissioners. And this is where I'm going to run down and just ask you your feelings on the, if you have any items you want to discuss amongst the commissioners on this property. Marilyn?
Not really. Oh, it seems to be thought put into this project also.
Matthew?
No, I have nothing to say.
Joe?
No, it feels similar to the last one. I don't really have any comments. You muted yourself when you said that.
I knew that, Joe. No, I didn't. Tom? Do you have any comments, Tom?
I would just say I don't think the building has any particular architectural value, and I don't know of any historical associations with it.
Susan?
I think it's a sweet little building, but I suspect that it isn't sweet when you perhaps walk into it. Maybe it's lost its sweetness. In any case, I have no comments other than that.
Okay, David? David?
I think you called on David, didn't you?
Well, we can't hear him.
Not during this portion.
Oh, okay.
David, can you hear me?
He was dropped again and he's just reconnecting, I think.
Hello.
Hi, David. Do you have anything you want to discuss with the commission about this property, Loomis Ave?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the
I
motion.
move
Yeah.
that the, okay, property at 16 Loomis Avenue is not preferably preserved.
26.
Yeah, it's not, is it not 16? What's the number on this property?
26.
26, yeah.
26.
Sorry, 26.
26 is not preferably preserved. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Joe seconded it. Okay, Marilyn, in favor?
Yes.
Matthew, in favor or against?
In favor.
Tom did it. So David, in favor or against?
I didn't know I had my
In
mute.
favor?
Did you say in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, and Susan, in favor or against?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. The motion passes. This property is not preferably preserved. Thank you to the petitioners, and Susan will be getting a letter to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let me just get to my agenda. Next property up for discussion and vote is 76 Emerson Street. Is the petitioner here?
Yeah, Colin McGuire is here.
Okay. Hi, Colin. So you can go ahead and present your...
I'm requesting to demo the existing single-car garage that was built in 1940, and there's nothing historical about this garage. And we don't plan to replace it with any garage.
Okay. Is there any other information or?
No.
Okay. All right. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for Mr. McGuire?
It's just the garage, not the house.
Do you want me to share the
house?
screen?
Pardon me?
I can share a photo of the site for everyone of what's existing. I went up there to take it. I have too many documents open.
But we're talking just about the garage. Oh, yeah.
Correct. That's the only, the house doesn't, there's no house on the lot.
Yeah,
Oh.
Marilyn, this is the
Right, right.
the demolition from, I think, about 2
Oh, yes.
Okay. So the only thing standing is the garage,
Oh, yeah.
and they're seeking to demolish the garage. Do you have it? Marilyn, do you have any questions for Mr. McGuire?
No.
Matthew, do you have any questions for Mr. McGuire?
No.
Tom, do you have any questions for Mr. McGuire?
No.
Susan, do you have any questions for Mr. McGuire?
No, I don't.
Joe, do you have any questions?
No.
David, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay, so now I'm going to open it up to the community. Is anybody on this Zoom called in or Zoomed in that has any information they'd like to bring forth about this property?
My name is Michelle Schindelman. I have a question about the property. Do we, you said there's no plan to replace the garage. Is there a plan on how they're going to rebuild on the lot? And that interests me because by taking down the garage, it would give you significantly more flexibility on the lot, and I'd like to understand what the plan is.
Someone put the video on?
Did you hear that, Mr. McGuire? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. I just don't see how that's relevant to this meeting.
We can say something. You want to put the video on?
Okay, if you're not speaking, if you could mute yourself, that would be great. Okay, so Michelle, I think Mr. McGuire is accurate. He's not looking to replace what they're asking to demolish, and so any plans they have for building on the lot would go through other departments. What we're here for tonight is to determine whether or not that garage is preferably preserved. So while your question has value in another setting, I think you should seek that answer from a different department. Gideon?
She could reach out to me. I am not the building office of our department, but I do know the zoning for this site, and I've already talked to a few neighbors about the general setbacks and location of where a house could be, and it would only be a single family. So if you do have specific questions that are outside of this meeting, you could reach out to Gideon Schreiber, me, as staff at the town hall, and my name's on the website, but you can also, reach me by phone. I can give that to you now if you want, or just look us up on the website.
Thank you. I'll just look you up on the website.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any other questions from or not necessarily questions, but information that anybody in the community has that they'd like to bring forward about this property? Specifically, we're talking about the garage that they're seeking to demolish. Okay, seeing no other members of the community stepping forward, I'm going to close the hearing and we'll discuss it amongst ourselves. Again, because we're on Zoom, I'm just going to take a roll. Marilyn, what do you have to say about this garage?
Nothing much.
All right, Matthew.
Say
I'm sorry, Matthew, you muted before I could hear you.
nothing to say now.
Okay, thanks. Joe?
Yes, no comment.
All right, Tom?
No, it doesn't have any distinction that would possibly urge us to maintain it.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Susan?
I have no comment.
And David?
No comments.
Okay, so with no further discussion amongst the commissioners, do I hear a motion?
Oh, I make a motion. Oh, gosh. Well,
Go ahead, Susan.
I have to get the right screen up in front of me. Uh-oh. I can't make a motion because I don't have the right screen up in front of me for the house.
We can see you.
I mean, for the garage.
He needs the address.
76 Emerson.
Okay, I propose that the garage at 76 Emerson Street is not preferably preserved.
Anybody second that motion?
I second it.
All right, I'm going to take David's second. Marilyn, in favor or against?
In favor.
Matthew, in favor or against?
In favor.
Joe, in favor or against?
In favor.
Tom, in favor or against?
In favor.
And I'm in favor, and therefore a unanimous vote. It is not preferably preserved. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Susan will get a letter out to you. You still there?
I had to mute him, and I'm not sure if he can unmute because he's a phone, because there was a huge amount of feedback.
Yeah, he hung up, so.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so now on the agenda, one second while I find it. Next is the minutes from September 10th, 2020. Anybody have any comments on the minutes?
I have one, only one. On the fourth page, under the commission discussion, and that very last sentence of that paragraph, David was talking, and what it says is he said that property was, it says well cited. I'm sure what he actually said was well cited on the site from the context.
Any other comments on the minutes? All right, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes as amended.
Anybody second that motion?
I'll second.
Matthew second. Okay, Tom, for or against accepting the minutes as amended?
For accepting.
Susan, for or against accepting the minutes as amended?
I accept.
Joe?
For.
David?
For.
And I'm for it. So, Matt, I got you, right?
For.
Okay. Sorry, Matthew. That was an important vote I almost cut you out of. All right, the minutes are accepted as amended. And looking at our agenda, that's all that's on the agenda, but Susan, did you had...
Well, yes, actually, there's another thing I'm wondering if we wanted to talk about. David, are you still on?
Yes, I'm here.
Do we want to talk about the Mass State? What is it? Is it the grant that's coming up, the annual MHC Survey and Planning Grant?
Sure.
I don't know. Are you familiar? I'm not. This is new to me. I haven't been aware of it. But Gideon, you sent a letter out talking about. I think did you send it to all of us? Talking about the whether or not the commission would be interested in applying for a grant. If we have any ideas on potential survey or planning activities we would like to consider for this upcoming year. And I know that Elodia has wondered whether that would be something that the CPC could be involved in, and whether or not it made sense given the fact that our timeline has had a bit of a hiccup. But I don't think we really need the CPC to.
You need matching funds for this grant.
I see. Okay, thanks,
So,
Gideon. I wasn't reading correctly.
that's why I sent it to Lene for the CPC
Okay.
and here. And I think it probably would be ambitious considering what's going on this year to try to take it on. I talked briefly with Lene, but I think that it's something that, you know, I've identified in the past as a potential opportunity for both this commission and also the Historic District Commission. But I think with the Community Preservation Committee, there's a real opportunity to take advantage of this, to look at, you know, updating some historic preservation planning document, or I guess creating a historic preservation plan. But it seems that it would be ambitious considering how many plans are in place going on right now, and also with the COVID and the pandemic and not being able to meet in person easily, etc. And the deadline only being a couple weeks away.
Yeah. Well, yes. And so thanks, Gideon. I think the CPC would be very interested once we get things up and running. And so I guess what I'd like to share, this wasn't really what I was going to share. What I would like to share, I don't think this is news to anyone, but we fired our consultant back in August. Is that news to anybody?
News to me.
Oh, sorry, Marilyn.
News to me, yeah.
We had been having ongoing issues with them. We've been having ongoing issues with Jen Goldson, who we were counting on to really lead the charge in certain key meetings along the way. And then we would find out that, oh, no, well, she couldn't make it. Some other more important client came up, which did not sit well with any of us. But I think we hoped that we could work things out with her, and things just devolved, I guess, for lack of a better word. I think the last straw was the fact that the draft plan that she put together was largely a big mess. I guess that's not very articulate, but it was. There were a lot of inaccuracies. There were things that looked like they had been pulled from other plans and dumped into our plan. And after a long, distressful Zoom call in which we kept trying to think, could we find a way to work with them? We realized that we weren't getting what we needed from them, and in fact, what we were getting was some very well-meaning but inexperienced person on her staff who was doing the best they could, but it wasn't professional. So there is a draft from which we are working. So we fired her. She was very happy to be fired, I think, which I guess reinforced our feelings that she had become disinterested in us. And we have, each one of the committee members has taken on individually or with someone else a portion of rewriting the plan. Now, it's not a complete rewrite. We can definitely work with a bunch of the graphics that exist and a lot of the text, but we're expecting, I can't give you an exact time frame, but given that it is a little difficult to not be able to sit down together and hash things out kind of and doing things on Zoom and remotely, I'm not thinking we'll see a final draft for approval until sometime in November. Would you say that's probably a good estimate, Gideon?
I'm not aware of what your current discussions are.
Yeah, okay.
All I know is that the consultant did send in a letter of resignation that was submitted to the town. And then I don't know what, I haven't been in the loop.
You haven't been, yeah, okay. Well, we're off and running. And each of us, I'm teaming with Jason and John Bakian. We've worked together on kind of renovating, I guess is a good word for it, the application, streamlining it, using a lot of the graphs and charts that Goldson had already done. So there are definitely things we can use from this plan, and we will use them. But it was a very long, overblown, messy plan. And we're just going to streamline it and get it shipshape. And I will let you know when we are at a point where we've got it wrapped up. We do have Marcia Ciro is our graphic consultant, so she'll be working with us on the graphics. And so we've got a good team effort going, or multiple teams going on getting this back into shape.
This is David. I'm so sorry. That sounds horrible, and I'm sorry, Susan, that you and the CPC had to deal with that. That must have been very difficult. The fact that you're able to salvage this in the way you're doing is clearly a testament to your abilities and your dedication to this town. So, in the small way, I can say thank you for what you're doing. I can't imagine how difficult this must be.
It is hard, but it's we're all determined. So, and it's really pulled us together as a group too. I mean, you know, we all said, well, all right, we're going to fix this, and we are, and we'll make it about Watertown and not some revamped kind of text from somebody else's plan. So, and I may need your help on a few things, but I don't need it yet. That is David's and some of you all on the Historical Commission.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
If there's any documents that you want us to share with the Historic Commission during the process, definitely send them to Susan and me and Larry Field. I wanted to also acknowledge Larry is on this call. And we can share that with the commission, and then they can provide individual comments. But I do want to caution people from working together outside of the meeting for, you know, the exercise because of the open meeting law. So
yeah, exactly. I will have to say that we've had Larry on our calls the last 2 meetings that we've had. And the last one in which he spent time talking about housing. And it is just incredibly impressive what you were able to pull together and how clearly, Larry, if you're on, how clearly you were able to make what I thought was a very confusing issues of housing. It was just an extraordinary presentation. So, if anybody's interested, I'm sure that PowerPoint show is somewhere on the website, on the town website, Gideon.
it probably isn't on the website, but it could be if we needed to post it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, it almost needs someone to present it, but still, it's very, very interesting. What we learned about the town and you know, where people live and the information about our citizens and who we are.
Great.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Appreciate it. Appreciate all your hard work and your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, do I have a
There
motion?
is.
Elise?
There is.
Something else, David?
No, I have something, I'm afraid. So I know, I'm sorry to report a friend of the commission has passed away. Rachel Sachs Jones, the wife of Commissioner Jay Jones, has passed away. It was several weeks ago, I'm afraid, and with the pandemic and everything, the arrangements were just with the family. And but
Oh,
if
no.
anyone would like an address, I'd be happy to provide you with Jay's address. But I'm sorry she's passed away.
Oh, that's sad.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
He was 84, lived a full life.
Yes. But it could have been fuller, and we're sad that it wasn't.
And longer.
Touche.
Maybe along the way, she was a tireless advocate for us as well as friend, and maybe we can find a way to honor her in our own special way as we move along in our work. If anybody has any ideas,
Yeah.
let me
When
know.
we have the awards next,
Oh, if we have the awards ever.
well, if and when we can ever be together in the same room.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could name an award after one of them.
Ooh,
I like that.
the persistence award.
She'd like that.
She'd really like that.
Yes, she would.
On a
Thank you.
happier note, has anyone seen the house on Fitchburg Street that we were involved in? I think that our efforts really paid off there. It seems to be a pretty good replication of what used to be there, maybe a little better.
Wow.
Oh,
I'll go
Okay,
down
look.
tonight, but
What number was that? Fitchburg?
I don't remember. I honestly,
Okay.
it blends in so well that it's a little bit tough to tell, other than the fact that it's clearly new and it's got a for sale sign out in front of it.
The one with the for sale.
In Springfield, it's to the east of Springfield. I can't remember
Okay.
the address
Oh,
anymore.
that's great.
okay. Anything else?
Do you know if we're going to take up the ordinance at some point again?
Yeah, we need to.
I was going to suggest that when I have a chance, Larry and I could try to get together and put together, some of the comments that have come in, because it's been a long time. But I do think we had like a working draft. So when it would be nice for you to start from working on the actual ordinance that you have and looking at it with track changes on with some suggested changes, which we had going around, but then I think there was multiple versions.
I don't remember multiple versions, but I do have mine, so.
Well, Susan had sent us one. Tom, I think, might have done one.
Yeah.
We had multiple versions.
Well, there's nothing worse than multiple versions.
So either that or, originally I think David had been talking about doing something and then coming back and getting it on the agenda. Looking at that compared to the model ordinance, I think it was David and maybe Elise were going to look at that. So that would be the other scenario. But with Larry on board as well, that might be something we can try to take on now at the staff level.
Okay, I think that we had talked about having a subcommittee, right?
A working,
Go ahead, Gideon.
I was just saying a working group. A subcommittee is a meeting.
Sorry, working group. You're right. It's a working group. And I believe, Matthew, you were part of that working group, right?
Oh, that's right.
I'd like to be. I'd like to kind of, I don't know how far along this is already, but I kind of thought we would be at the point of kind of brainstorming where we should start. So I guess if we're beyond that, that's okay too. But I was kind of looking forward to a brainstorming, what should it look like session.
Yeah, I think that's what we had decided when we passed all around and there were different comments about the different sections. We also wanted to look at some of the other towns and how they drafted them. And there was a sample recommended one from the state, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I agree with you, Matthew. I think we had so many great ideas that we're going to look at other towns and start to kind of put down what was important for ours to have and what wasn't to us. So, you know, that working group can be done by Zoom. If you guys are up for that, I can arrange that.
Just, I don't know that there's would be any connection or parallel, but in looking, one of the things a number of us did on the committee was to look at what other communities were doing things with CPC and taking best practices. And two of the ones, well, Hingham was a very interesting one for a lot of reasons. Let's see, what was another one? Well, New Bedford, of course, is there, I don't know, they really are very over the top on all of their planning, but it definitely would be worth looking at communities that have done a good job with their CPC, because they may have done a good job with their historic stuff as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree.
And if
I just like, yeah.
No, never mind. I'm sorry. I'm finished.
Go ahead, Tom.
I'd just like to say, although there were multiple drafts, my recollection is that it didn't mean that everybody was arguing over the same point. As I recall, different people highlighted different things where they made suggestions. So multiple is not necessarily antagonism.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah, no, I think people pointed out different things. You're absolutely right. Okay, I'll be in touch with you, Matthew, about that.
I look forward to hearing from you.
All right, is there anything else before we hear a motion? Motion? Oh, for the love of Pete, someone.
This is David. I move that we adjourn.
I second.
And Susan second. Okay, Marilyn?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Matthew?
Yes.
Joe?
I'm against. I want to stick around longer.
Go away, Joe.
No,
So far, three.
I agree.
Three
I agree. I agree.
All right. Tom?
Yes.
And Susan, you seconded it, right?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Okay, and I'm all for it. So unanimous. The motion passes unanimously.